Greetings. Welcome to the headquarters of the Human Resistance.
Also known as the Mind Your Movies podcast. I'm Ryan,
I'm Shane.
and today we got kind of an impromptu double feature.
Yeah.
We're talking about the new movie Bugonia, the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie, and also it's a retelling of the South Korean movie Save the Green Planet. So we're talking about
Yes.
both those today.
Yes. We're going to get into full, in-depth spoiler discussion. Should we start off with a little general discussion without spoilers, maybe? Just since the Begonia is brand new and Save the Green Planet's a little more obscure. So maybe we
Yeah,
can do a little bit of our general thoughts without spoilers, and then toward the end of the episode, we will get into a full spoiler discussion for both movies. So if you haven't seen the movies, you can watch/listen to the beginning. But then I think they're worth watching. At least I love Begonia. I'll say that much right off the bat. So we definitely recommend checking them out. But yeah, so it's interesting because I watched Save the Green Planet first, and Ryan watched Begonia first, and then went back and watched Save the Green Planet. So I don't know if that will impact our experiences of it at all, but I don't know. So what were your general thoughts, Ryan?
I think I think both these movies are pretty awesome. I think there's a lot going on here, and so I think the general premise is just like in both of these it follows the same general plot where somebody believes like a corporate CEO type person to be a alien. They abduct them and try to torture information out of them essentially, and
Yep.
then stuff goes crazy. And specifically about Begonia, I thought like it was just so well shot, and like the lighting was really well done and provided a lot of good tension. It was so claustrophobic, and I think if I'm remembering right, the aspect ratio was like a little claustrophobic too.
Yeah,
Um,
it was actually shot on VistaVision, so it's like
oh
1.5 aspect ratio.
wow, look at that, another VistaVision
I
film.
know VistaVision's
Wow,
popping off recently. I think there's a few more coming out soon too. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are more.
cool. So lots of cool stuff in terms of just like the physical process in which they made this film.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the look of the movie, Begonia is definitely better than Save the Green Planet. I think Save the Green Planet, like, it doesn't look bad, but it's a little bit more just standard. Begonia is a lot more idiosyncratic and stands out, which makes sense. It's Yorgos Lanthimos, shot by Robbie Ryan, who also shot Poor Things and I think Kinds of Kindness as well. And maybe The Favorite. I don't know. He's been working with Robbie Ryan for a few movies at least. Uh, and yeah, and also Johnny Byrne did the sound design. So the sound and the cinematography and everything is really great. And I loved the set design of the house and the basement and everything. It's a little more, well, I'd see maybe this is because I'm American, but it seems a lot more grounded and realistic as compared to the original. The original is they basically the guy's house is built on top of like a mine shaft or something. So it's more of a more intricate basement cavern thing where he's keeps the kidnapped CEO. But in this one, it's just a regular like rural house with a basement, and it's just completely just could be any house you drive by. So I thought that was kind of a cool aspect of Bugonia. Another change that I really liked for Bugonia is that in the original, the main character, uh, who has a girlfriend, and she is his accomplice that helps him, and she seems a little, I don't know, I don't know. She kind of maybe reveres him is, I don't know if that's the right word, but she kind of like looks up to him, will do whatever he wants, kind of a thing. And it doesn't, I think it's more realistic in Begonia that this guy does not have a girlfriend. I think that's probably a more realistic scenario. Like if you have a girlfriend, maybe you're less likely to fall down this conspiracy rabbit hole and all this type of stuff. Uh, so in Begonia, it's that character is his cousin, Don, played by Aidan Delbus, who is, I believe, autistic. And yeah, you can like it just add. I think that character is so much more fleshed out and what much better in Begonia than it is in Save the Green Planet. Save the Green Planet, it's kind of a silly, more comedic relief type of a character, whereas in
Yeah.
Begonia, I actually felt for him and cared about the character a lot more.
Yeah. And I think in terms of the differences here, I think that's pretty true. It felt to me like it's pretty true throughout that like Save the Green Planet felt a bit more like just comical and absurd at times in ways in
Yeah.
which early on, for example, there's this scene that he's actually just he's like doing this like jump kick to kick someone. He's like fighting someone on the street, I think, like an
Yes.
old bully
Yeah.
or something, and
Right.
he literally is like flying towards him in like a weird stance, and it's like what is happening?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like wire work, like type of action. Yeah. I
Right.
totally forgot about that. They completely get rid of that bully little
Yeah.
side plot in Begonia.
Yeah.
But
Or it kind of feels like they might combine it with a different character almost. Maybe not fully, but um
oh yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yeah.
I
But
think that yeah.
the another example, I think there's a moment in Save the Green Planet where he has to like turn off a TV and he like it's like really ratcheting up the tension and he like does a weird kick to like kick the button or maybe I think he kicks it.
Yeah.
He kicks a button to turn it off or something like that. And in Begonia, he literally just walks by and just like closes the screen. And it's
Right.
just so much more simple and realistic. It doesn't have that over the top tone that Save the Green Planet has.
Right. And so I think that's a big change. And I think there's a lot to say about all that. And I think some of that might be better said later on,
Yeah.
but just that I think that is an interesting change here. That Begonia is very uh, it feels much more serious in a way from
Yeah.
throughout really like and whereas Save the Green Planet does have those moments of like kind of almost hilarity where it's like what the hell's going on
Yeah.
um
And
which
the
is cool.
comedy in Begonia is a lot darker. It's like a
Right.
very dark humor. But
Yeah. And there's like some capitalist like there's like a point where they're kind of like going back and forth with like capitalist like corporate words and stuff and some of that's like a little funny but also for like not really like absurdity humor as much.
yeah, I thought some of the funny things were like in Begonia, they kind of emphasize the ineptitude of the main character, Teddy. His name is Teddy in Begonia, and like during the kidnapping, them being so incompetent is was kind of funny and like not really know like struggling to do the kidnapping
Yeah.
or when they're training and they're like trying to do their like exercises and stuff like that or some of the ridiculous things that Teddy will say can be funny. It can also be very sad. There's I think in a way I felt like Begonia was it was a darker humor, but I found it funnier than Save the
Hmm.
Green Planet, but I also found it more poignant and like touching than Save the Green Planet. Like by the end of Save the Green Planet, I kind of felt, I don't know, like it didn't really impact me that much. But Begonia did much more.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would totally agree, and I think part of that too is like that, like Begonia just feels so much more grounded, right? It
Yeah.
feels like a real thing, which was good, and I think that's like really, I think that worked a lot here, um, for a lot of reasons, and I think that was cool. One other thing, just in terms of like differences between the two, is I think Save the Green Planet is it 2003.
Hmm.
Yeah. And it definitely feels it. This gets into like some of like the cinematography and stuff. Not necessarily cinematography, but like just the lighting and all this stuff. It's like kind of grungy 2003. And the editing is really where you notice it. I
Yeah.
think mostly like pretty much at the beginning. But there's times where it's just like they do like some very early 2000s tropes things that feel very kind of goofy.
Yeah. And from what I remember, there's a lot of like blue tones in like the
Yeah.
images, which is very like early 2000, like that really cold sort of digital blue tones over everything. So yeah, it definitely is not. I mean, I imagine it also probably had a smaller budget than Begonia and like less resources, so kind of tough to hold that against it. But the final product, I think Begonia is much more. I don't know. In a way, it's more polished, but also it is a little chaotic and crazy as well. But I just think it's absolutely like fantastic. It really blew me away. And this is definitely, I will say, Begonia at this point is one of my favorite movies of the year. Probably going to
Wow.
be, yeah, if we do like, I don't know if we'll do like a recap maybe toward the end of the year or something like that, top five or something. But I think Begonia, I would be shocked if it wasn't in there. Um,
Awesome.
yeah. So I also I think Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons give like fantastic performances. Just like
Oh my God, yeah.
absolutely incredible, like top tier, incredible performances. Uh, so yeah, I mean Jesse Plemons, his character is like fascinating, and he's awful, but you also feel empathy for him. And same with Emma Stone, she's also awful, and you also feel empathy for her at various times in the movie. And yeah, I just thought it was really really well done, and I loved it.
Yeah. And even the acting with like Stavros who's in this, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, Stavi plays a police officer in there's also a police officer in Save the Green Planet. However, his in Save the Green
hmm,
Planet, that subplot is a lot bigger part of the movie. In Bugonia, they minimize that character's like role in the story, I feel like.
oh yeah.
Um so yeah, we never see that character really alone. Like, but in Save the Green Planet, there are multiple scenes of the cop like investigating what's going on, trying to figure it out. But in Begonia, it's only if the cop happens to interact with one of our core characters.
Yeah.
So but he's very effective in the role, and even though it's less scenes, he does a really good job with it.
Yeah. Begonia, the movie's very much more tied to the characters, right?
Mm.
To our main characters, like you were saying. Whereas like in the other one, there is that whole cop subplot, which I thought was like fine-ish, but I actually like mostly just thought that kind of took away from uh what I was actually there to see.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
really care
get
about
that.
the cop stuff.
Yeah, I do. I wonder if when they were making it, they felt like they didn't want to just be with the guy in the house the whole time. They wanted to expand the story and get us outside the house a little bit. Maybe that was the theory. But yeah, it definitely it it makes sense why they cut out a lot of that stuff from Begonia. I think it's more effective this way.
Yeah, which is interesting because they're still roughly the same length. I think they're both almost 2 hours. I think they're both like a few minutes short, maybe. Um,
Hmm.
and
Well, we get some flashbacks in Begonia. I don't think there are flashbacks in Save the Green Planet, right?
there's like there's like some annoyingly edited like uh really fast images of things that
Okay.
maybe are flashbacks, but
Yeah.
it's like that 2000s early 2000s like rapid like photo
Yeah.
cut photo graphic
Yeah,
cut
yeah,
photo,
really. Yeah, I
like
know what you're talking about. Really quick editing and just we don't actually, it's not actually a scene. It's just a quickly edited
yeah,
series of images to tell you
right.
something of the backstory. But yeah, in Begonia, and I thought those flashback scenes, there's only a couple of them, maybe like two or three, but I thought they were like really well done too. I loved it. They're uh very surreal and just awesome. I don't want to talk too much about it because we're not in spoilers, but
Right.
yeah.
um yeah, and I think also just in terms of uh the two, I think like Begonia definitely has more of kind of like I think it has more of a feel of like a like an art movie almost, even though it really isn't, but like just the cinematography. I don't know. It just feels like a lot more put together, right? Like I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like 20 years apart, so whatever. But like also it does
Yeah, it's
feel
also I think Lanthimos is like a master filmmaker. I think he's one of the best directors working. He's like I love all of his movies. Even Canetta, his first movie that no one likes, I liked it. And so there you go. But yeah, uh I think yeah, he's just brilliant director, and he obviously knows like has talented people around him that he's working with doing like sound, cinematography, sound, like great actors, like and yeah, so it's just really really high quality. I think it's kind of an art film, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just has kind of like that vibe, I guess, with like just the fact that it's like there's some shots that are just like when she's driving, there's like a shot, um, like a tracking shot of the entire car, and it's like perfectly stabilized, and so you're just kind of like moving along the road with the car, but like from the other lane, I guess, kind of. I
Hmm.
don't know, like something about some of the shots just feels very like uh very artsy, even though
It
yeah,
is. I think especially the flashback sequences are probably the most
yeah.
whatever artsy fartsy, but they really worked for me.
I think that's kind of what brought it up for me. I was like thinking of some
Yeah.
of those, but didn't want to say them. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That
yeah.
makes sense. Yeah.
Do we want
Yeah.
to anything else before spoilers then?
I don't know. It is tough. Once we get to spoilers, there's gonna be a lot to talk about. We're talking around a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I this like completely knocked my socks off. I'm a Lanthimos fanatic already, but this one, Kinds of Kindness, was a slightly disappointing to me, just in that it's three, it's an anthology with three different stories, and I don't know, it didn't quite add up to. I mean, I guess I had high expectations of loving all of his other movies, but coming back after Kinds of Kindness with this, back on the right track. I think to me, this is one of up there in the upper echelon of his movies, and I gave it 5 stars. So there you go.
Ooh, excellent.
Yes.
I also did really enjoy this. I think I'm excited to talk more about some of the things that I felt not as strong, not as positively about in the spoiler section. But I gave it 4 stars at the end. I actually gave it 3.5 originally, but I ended up bumping up to 4 for a few reasons. Partly because I think just sitting on it was helpful, but
Hmm.
also um, while reflecting on it, I kept thinking back to a lot of like the kind of anti-corporate sentiment that's in the movie, and I was like, you know what? Like elections just happen and stuff, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, fuck the corporations. I'm going up another half star here, or 4 stars.
Yeah, fuck him. Yeah,
Um, and
the elites.
so I did end up with 4 stars here. It's pretty awesome. Um, really enjoy it,
Nice.
and I think
Now,
there's a lot of just really great stuff to enjoy in it for pretty much. I mean, I think people will like it. Yeah, go see it.
yeah. So for Save the Green Planet, I watched it first, and after watching it, I don't know if I had high expectations of it. It's a little more of an obscure movie. I had heard of it, but hadn't, it was hard to watch for a long time, I think. Um, like literally hard to find a copy, maybe. Um, but yeah, I was slightly disappointed by it. Probably a bit disappointed by the ending in the third act, which we are obviously not talking about. And I ended up giving it 3 stars. And after watching Save the Green Planet, it definitely had me ready for Begonia and thinking that, okay, this is a good movie to remake, because I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and I'm glad that they pulled through and improved in pretty much every way, like in my opinion. So yeah, I Save the Green Planet I thought was good, but it was definitely a mixed bag. Uh and yeah, so I gave it 3 stars.
Um, I also felt like there was a lot of room for improvement, but I mean, I think maybe it's because I saw it after. There was a lot of stuff that I did just kind of I was just like along for the ride for it, and kind of enjoyed like some of the goofier like uh kind of more like out there comedy moments, right? I was kind of
Yeah.
like, all right, whatever, like I'm in. Um, and I think there was a lot to it. I think again, like I maybe when we get into the spoilers, we can talk more about kind of that final act stuff. But I did end up dropping this one at a 3.5 because I did like a lot of it, and some of the 2000s editing I think is very nostalgic for people, and I might be one of those people. So if anyone's seen like 13 Ghosts, that like 2000s remake of it, the remake of the William Castle movie, that you might be reminded of some of the editing from that movie.
Yeah, a lot of stuff from that era. There was the quick cutting,
Yeah.
it almost like the you wouldn't steal a car,
Yeah.
like the anti-piracy video with that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. So you're definitely you see them as closer together than I do. I see a bigger gulf in the quality of the movies.
Yeah.
But
And I
yeah.
think, yeah, I think like honestly, just some of the problems I have with the movies are pretty similar. But I do
Mm,
think Begonia is like better made for sure.
mm. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I guess that's that for our spoiler-free section. I feel like that was good. Obviously, we compared the movies a lot, but I think that makes sense. That's kind of the point
Yeah.
of the episode. So yeah, that's final warning. If you haven't seen the movies, go out and watch them. As you just heard, we both like them. They're worth watching. I'd say Begonia is in theaters right now. It's probably going to be out of theaters pretty soon. So get out there and see it while you can. Uh, and yeah, let's get into our full spoiler discussion. All right.
Yeah. Also, actually, just speaking of people having seen the movies, it's probably worth noting that Begonia pretty much just came out. It's been out for a little bit, but pretty much just came out. And it's at 386,000 views on Letterboxd. Whereas Save the Green Planet, which has been out for over 20 years, has 25,000.
Yeah. And
It's
I
obviously
bet,
not as accessible, but
yes. And I bet that number was like half
yeah.
before Bugonia was announced. Like, yeah. So,
Oh, yeah.
because I remember I had heard of Save the Green Planet, but it was very difficult to watch. I think you had to find like a DVD copy of it or something, like a South Korean DVD, you know? Uh, so yeah, it was, I'm glad that it's widely available now. I watched it on Canopy. So, uh, but yeah, that makes sense. I think also Letterboxd new movies end up
Yeah.
being very popular on Letterboxd.
Right. I mean, it's also worth noting like Letterboxd wasn't around 20 years ago when Save the Green Planet came out. So it's
Right.
not like, yeah. And
But
also,
even
I think that it's also just true that like English language movies probably have a much higher audience on Letterboxd.
oh yeah, 100%. I'm gonna look at IMDb and see. Wow. Right now, as we record, Save the Green Planet has 9,999 ratings on IMDb.
Wow.
Yeah. 9,999. Begonia, as we speak, has 25,000. So
Wow.
there you go. Uh,
Yeah.
Definitely a lot more. But also
Yeah.
IMDb, there you go. The numbers are dropping. More people using Letterboxd than IMDb
Yeah.
nowadays. Those Zoomers.
Yeah.
I think we're technically Zoomers.
Yeah, whatever. We're on Zoom right now.
We're borderline. Yeah, right. All right. Let's get into
But
the movies.
yeah.
So these movies have fucking crazy endings, which we
Yeah.
could, yeah. Uh, so, but I also think I have a unique interpretation of the Begonia ending that I don't know applies to Save the Green Planet. But but yeah, basically you're watching the movie and this guy thinks the CEO is an alien. Also, they gender swap the CEO. Emma Stone is obviously a woman. The CEO in Save the Green Planet is a man. So that plays into things, I think. Plays into the dynamics, I guess. But but yeah, so he's talking all about this his theories about this alien race that rules over Earth. And uh by the end of the movie, it turns out he was correct. And the guy really is like the emperor of the space aliens, the Andromedans, who created human life. Came from another planet, created human life, and yeah, that is the ending. Basically, you get to see the Andromedan spaceship, and they speak the Andromedan language in both movies, I believe. Uh, and yeah, it's a wacky ending. I did not like the ending in Save the Green Planet. And when I was watching Begonia, I was definitely let down by the ending when I watched it. And I had to sit with it a little bit and think about it to make it make sense in my head. But but when I watched Save the Green Planet, maybe because of the wackier tone, or maybe because the movie didn't lend itself to my interpretation, I was just like, well, yeah, so it turns out he's right, and this whole thing is kind of just silly and wacky and okay, whatever. It made
Yeah.
it a little made the movie feel more frivolous to me. And yeah.
That and also, I mean, I largely agree. I think I was definitely let down. And after seeing, so I had seen Begonia first, and I was pretty let down by the ending. So I think I was a little more open to it by the time that I saw Save the Green Planet. So I think like going into Save the Green Planet, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Like I kind of know what I like. I assumed that the ending was going to be pretty similar. And so I think I was maybe just more open to it by the time that I saw that one. But also, I think Save the Green Planet does have this weird like tonal mismatch at times that I think Begonia really doesn't have as much, because there's times like you'll go from like the guy being like horrifically tortured to like the guy being uh I don't know, I can't even think of an example, but like some goofy joke being made that like feels very outlandish and weird, right? Um and then like the guy's tortured with uh like a clothes iron, right? And then has like iron stamps on his nipples, right? And then like
Yeah.
all this like crazy stuff, like, and it's like, oh, like there's moments where you're like, am I supposed to? Is this supposed to be funny? Because somewhat it's just a little awkward, and so I
Yeah.
think that like tonal mismatch definitely hits also at the end, where it's like, okay, what like is it outlandish? Is it weird? Is it I don't know, definitely dark humor, right? It's during most of the movie. And then I think at the end it's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just kind of like, okay, I guess.
Yeah. Also in Save the Green Planet, there's more of like an action sequence toward the end
Yeah.
of the cop trying to come in and the guy's trying to get away and all this type of stuff, whatever the alien is trying to get away. And yeah, it just kind of felt a little unsatisfying to me. And then Begonia, the ending, is basically, in theory, very similar, but so we he how do we describe what happens? There's a lot that happens. But
Well,
basically the I think we should start with when Stavros comes to the door.
yeah, I think that's a good plan.
That's like
So,
when shit hits the fan.
right. And this is so Stavros is at the door and Donnie's downstairs
Yeah.
with Emma
Michelle.
Stone and
Yeah.
Michelle, and ultimately ends up killing himself. And
Which, yes. And now I'm thinking about it, it is very weird the way that he kills himself. It is like uh it comes out of nowhere. And maybe she is an alien and that she is like doing some kind of a mind control type shit with him. I don't know. Maybe that is the way to justify why that happens.
it's possible. It also, I mean, the dude is clearly going through it. Like,
Yeah.
this guy
And
does not really want to be contributing to this. He chemically castrated himself earlier on in the
oh,
movie.
his cousin did. Yeah, that was one of
Yeah,
the most fucked up scenes. The Don character is very tragic, just
yeah.
being manipulated and taken advantage of by his cousin. Uh, but yeah, and so yeah, it's very sad when he kills himself. It's shocking. And
Oh
then
my god,
almost at
yeah.
the exact same time, uh, Teddy kills the cop who
I think it's because
also
the cop hears the gunshot, and
oh
then Teddy kills him to stop him
right,
from seeing.
right. And also it seemed yeah, I guess it's probably pretty satisfying to kill the guy who's it's implied molested him when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, heavily implied. But yeah, so they both it happens at like the same time. He slams his face in. Teddy slams the cop's face in with a shovel, which is very well done. It was like a
Yeah.
real prop just smashed it in. Yeah, it was like a watermelon. Uh, but a lot of good blood and guts there. As a horror guy, you might appreciate that.
Oh yeah.
And
Love the practical effect there.
and then yeah, basically like Emma or Michelle sees all these uh that he has tortured all these other people. He has records of it and photos and journals and stuff. And he comes down. She asks him how many of them were Andromedans. Uh, he says two. Uh, and then, uh, basically, long story short, they go to. She tells him that she's an alien, They go to her workplace. He she says in the closet is a teleportation machine, and you go in there. We're gonna go up to the ship, and he has brought a bomb, homemade bomb on his strapped to his chest to uh just for his own safety, I guess, ironically. And so she types into the calculator, which is apparently the device used. And it seems like she's making this up as she goes. That is
Yeah.
really how it comes off, that she's making this up as she goes. And then he gets in there, and this is a crucial thing that I only saw it one time in the theater, so I'm not totally sure what happened here exactly. But does Michelle hit enter on the calculator and then he explodes? Or does he explode before she hits enter?
Good question. I think I think she hits. I want to say that she hits enter, and
See,
then all of a sudden, and then it looks like there's like a light, but he's exploding. I feel like that's what was happening, but I mean I could be wrong. I kind of forget.
that is what how I interpreted it as well. My girlfriend said that she didn't think Michelle did
Mm,
hit like the final button because later on when she comes back, she doesn't have to type it in again. She just like hits the button and goes basically.
mm.
So that and it all happens very quickly. So and
Yeah,
I
it's
wasn't
hard.
as
Yeah,
yeah, so you'd have to watch on a rewatch to tell. But yeah, Teddy explodes in the closet. His head comes flying out of the closet, hits Michelle in the head, and she it goes into slow motion and she goes down, and then next thing you know, she wakes up in an ambulance. She runs out of the ambulance like a crazy person, goes back to the office, goes into the closet, uh hits enter on the calculator, and next thing you know, she's coming out of goop, which is a really
yeah,
cool shot, really awesome shot. And then yeah, it turns out she's also is really an alien and is the emperor of the alien people, and all they kill all humans, and we get some shots of all humans dead, and then they're doing their alien stuff, talking in their language. It looks like they're wearing weird. They all have long hair because that's how they communicate, and they have these hats and these sweater knit hats, and it's very strange.
yeah,
And uh and then yeah, we see a shot of like a bee and a flower, and then that's it. Humans have been eliminated.
yeah. And so I think we did skip a couple crucial things, kind of. At least so in the ambulance, she also does crucially ask if he's dead, which I think is relevant. She
Right,
says, "Is he dead?" Right? And which I mean, his head did fly out of a closet and hit you in the head, but also
right.
whatever. And also we skipped something a little bit earlier, which is when she so Don has killed himself um and Jesse Plemons' character kills the cop and comes inside. And in the basement is obviously pretty mad that Dawn is dead.
Yes.
And Emma Stone is like, Michelle's like, hey, you're right. I am actually an Andromedan, and we've been here. She explains the whole thing, how they've been here for
Yeah.
so long, and
Since the
says
dinosaurs.
the dinosaurs, and says, but we've been running these experiments, and your mom is one of them, and you can
Mm.
just end the experiment early.
Oh,
And
right.
so she convinces him to go and put
Get it.
antifreeze. Oh man,
Well, he doesn't think it's antifreeze. He thinks it's the
she tells him, yeah,
cure. She tells him it's the cure in an antifreeze bottle. And yeah, he puts antifreeze in it. His mom has been in a coma for 5 years. And yeah, he basically kills his own mom.
yeah,
Yeah. And
and
during that time, that's when gets out and finds the research and stuff.
right. And then that's when she's finding the research and he comes back and she's like furious. She's like, how many of them were actually Andromedans, right? Or whatever. And it kind of seems to totally outshine his anger for being convinced to kill his mom or something, right? And then she's
Mm.
able to convince him, I can bring you. We just have to go to my place. So that was just one
Yeah.
one crucial thing. Not even necessarily for the plot, like for the ending, but just because it is such an impactful. For me, watching that moment was like probably one of the strongest moments in the film when you're watching him draw up antifreeze into that syringe and inject it into the it's like I don't know what you call them, but like the bags with fluids that are getting
Like
into the
yeah, like an
IV.
IV,
Yeah,
yeah, that holds
fluid
the
bag,
water. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And watching it, and then you watch him push it in, and you see the water start turning that horrible antifreeze blue color, and oh man, and then he climbs out the window and escapes. But
Yes.
um, that
It,
was, I think that's just a crucial thing to mention because to
yes.
me that was like one of the certainly one of the most powerful moments in the film. I
Mm.
really felt that quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. One more powerful moments for I don't know. When that happened, maybe I just knew it was happening. I was like, oh man, you dumb motherfucker. That's just how I felt. I don't know that I don't know. For some reason
Well,
I didn't
yeah,
feel as emotionally impacted, but I was kind of like, oh, you dumbass, you know?
I feel like between like that and between like Dawn killing himself, but also between
Yes.
and him when he injects Dawn with uh
Yeah.
the chemical, right, to castrate him, and all three of those moments are really moments where like you just I just felt so bad for these two people, like you know, any possible thing that that he could do, right,
Yeah.
to save his mom or whatever. Like he was just so in, and it was like anything that he could do, he was willing to try. And it to me that was like so impactful. And I think those three moments kind of show the three times when like the two of them are like fully invested, and Dawn not really so much invested, just like he feels like it's probably his only hope that like
Mm.
if there is a spaceship, she can bring him away. But then his soul, I guess, I don't really know, but
Yeah, maybe that's what he was thinking. I'm not sure. But that's why, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, the I definitely had a lot of empathy for actually for Teddy, mainly for Don, but also for
yeah,
Teddy. And just that Teddy has been through so much shit, like had such a horrible life. And I thought it was actually a pretty genius like depiction of how people do fall into these like conspiracy like rabbit holes or weird online conspiracy communities or whatever, where like it is people who have trauma and have like their lives are fucked up in some way or another, and they find like escape and they find meaning in this like craziness. And yeah, like I don't know, I just felt a lot of empathy for him. And then but then also I think it's also very realistic that he then perpetuates it and like causes so much trauma to other people, especially Don. And Don
right.
is like the ultimate innocent in the movie, and he just gets like taken advantage of because of. I mean, but it is like people who are fucked up inflicting trauma on each other, like in a cycle that I thought was very like realistic. And just also the way his mom, they talk about her being a drug addict, and she seems to also be in this very conspiracy minded and like somewhat perhaps mentally ill. And like so then growing up with that, she probably caused all this trauma for Teddy, and then he's putting it onto other people. And this gets into my theory about the end of the movie that she is not an alien. Maybe I should have said this earlier in the podcast, but I don't think she's an alien.
So I want to say before you explain too much of this that I hope you're right, because here's my I don't want to go into my whole take, but I do want to say that to me, her being an alien at the end kind of dissolves so much of what we just talked about. It's like
Exactly.
all this stuff that makes it feel so realistic and so grounded. And a big comparison between this and Save the Green Planet is that this feels so much more grounded, it feels so much more personal, feels so much more realistic. There's not any flying wire-based jump kicks or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
And and then at the end, there's these aliens wearing these horrific knit sweaters that like you know. So I'm very curious to hear some supporting evidence for this idea that maybe she's not an alien.
Yes. So that that is the thing where okay, so the theory, the basis of it is that people with a lot of trauma are tend to, you know, maybe become delusional or paranoid or believe in, these crazy conspiracy theories, whatever. And through the movie, Michelle endures a lot of trauma. She gets electrocuted like to an extreme amount. It's like something like 400 volts. I don't know. Would that kill like anyone?
No idea.
Yeah, I don't know. Because maybe she is an alien. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But she gets electrocuted, she gets like kidnapped, and they shave her head off. Like it's a very horrifying ordeal that she's had to go through. And then I think it is crucial when that she gets hit in the head, and then the only moment of slow motion in the entire movie is right when she gets hit in the head and she starts to fall back like toward
Oh,
that couch. That's the only time there's ever slow motion in the whole movie. And I feel like that is maybe the moment, like the head trauma, the emotional trauma, and who knows, like she's been stuck in this basement for several days. Maybe she has in a way tricked herself into thinking that she really is an alien because that's the way that she got out. And due to all these things, she's become delusional. And I think this is a thing that happens to human beings where people can become delusional to the point where they think they are not who they really are. They think they're
yeah,
Jesus Christ. They think they're whatever. They think they're God. They whoever whatever it is. They like people do have these delusions that is a real thing that
right.
can happen. And so my theory is that everything from the the ambulance to the end is basically in her head and not really what happens.
Fascinating. I did while you're talking. I looked up I tried looking up a few things real quick, and the first thing I could think of, I know it's a little morbid, but the electric chair. Um, Electricity isn't like perfectly measured in voltage, like there's other things that go on here, but apparently an electric chair is like roughly 2000 ish volts. Um,
Oh, okay. So
so
it's only like 400. She's not
so
an alien.
I
Exactly.
think what I'm saying is I could probably take the 400 volts too.
Yeah.
Hook me up.
A human a human could potentially
um,
endure the 400 volts. All
so
right.
I
So
like,
yeah,
yeah, I like this theory. I think I think it makes sense. It makes me want to rewatch it, which is cool. Um, I'll say that this theory makes me feel, and I think that it kind of works because the ending of the movie, the whole like like the spaceship and the odd hair things that the yarn things that people wear feels so it and one of the things I really don't like about it is that it feels like such a drastic and rapid shift into absurdity.
hmm.
And for most of the movie, it feels so grounded and so real and so traumatic and powerful to me, like emotionally, that at the end I'm like, well, what the hell? I don't really
I
understand this.
I totally agree. That I felt the same way about the ending at first, and
Mm,
I was probably gonna be like, well, I love the movie, but the ending kind of sucked. So I was thinking maybe I was gonna give it like four or 4.5 stars, and then I was thinking more about it, and I was like, I don't know. I think this makes more sense than her actually being an alien. I don't know
mm,
if maybe that is a possibility in the original as well, because there are moments like in the original, he is explaining like, oh, there's the dinosaurs and the pyramids and all this stuff. And then the main character looks around, he's like, oh, he's just making up stuff because I have like books and pictures on the wall, and he's just making it up to go along with whatever that story
right.
is. And so maybe this is also a way to interpret the original that I just didn't think of at the time. But I think
Yeah.
in Bugonia also, like when she's doing the calculator stuff, it really comes off like she's a human
Just
being, like trying to like make this up and just get
yeah.
through this. Like, and it
I
and it does seem that like this might also be crucial. When he goes into the closet, she does, I think, like she's walking toward the door to like run away.
mm,
She's like, as soon as
it
she says like 3, 2, 1, like she's
right.
gonna open that door and like try to get the hell out of there and try to escape. So I don't think she's expecting him to go to a spaceship, you know?
Mm. So I think this makes a lot of sense. And I think again it really changes my perspective quite a bit. I think I left also thinking that I really liked a lot of the movie. I mean, I thought it was really fantastic and really well made. And I was thinking when I was leaving, I was like, or towards the end, I was thinking like, wow, like this is probably like 4.5 stars for me, maybe even depending on the ending, like could be 5 stars. And then I was so disappointed by the ending that I really did drop it down to like 3.5. And again, I kind of revisited that after. It was like maybe I was a little harsh, and also, perspective and timing. But part of my rationale here, and my take is that I think the ending will be polarizing. I think this is why people will, I left it and I was like, I think it will be pretty unanimous that most of the movie is really well made and really great. And then
Mhm.
people will either like the ending or hate it. And I think that's like the only, I think it'll be
Yeah.
polarizing. And I think
Yeah.
for me, I was like, if it just ended when she like was run at some point between her getting out of the ambulance and getting, and getting into that closet, or even like getting into the closet, like I don't know, sometime before she gets into the spaceship, it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of interpretation left open here of like maybe she's like returning, if it stops before she's necessarily in her office where all the blood and everything. Maybe she's trying to return to like a safe space. Maybe she's trying to go back to make sure he's actually dead. She asks, is he actually dead? Maybe she's trying to go back to make sure. Maybe she's going back because she really thinks she's an alien, or maybe just because she is an alien, right? Or whatever. Like there's so much interpretation that can be left when she doesn't go to the spaceship. And then it felt to me like there was little room for that when she actually goes. But
Mm.
I think maybe I am just thinking about it as a very traditional normal ending where it's like here's the end of the story, but in reality maybe it is like, hey, here's her delusion at the end. That's interesting.
That's my theory. I yeah. And
I
it
like
definitely made me like the movie more because
yeah,
I also felt if she is an alien, if that was definitively the case, it definitely does take away a lot of the impact of literally the other 90% of the movie, where it is such in a fascinating like depiction of this conspiracy mindset. And it's kind of interesting also, like, well, I don't know. Uh, with things like these kind of conspiracy, almost like the lizard people. Oh, it's lizard people that run the world and the Illuminati and stuff. If you took out all that craziness, it's like mostly correct that there are these elites who control the world, and they have an inordinate amount of power and all this type of stuff. Like conspiracy theories usually start in like reality,
right.
and then at some point, it sometimes they diverge into like fantasy land. We're not making any sense anymore. And I thought this was kind of an interesting depiction of that because toward the beginning of the movie, when you're like listening to Teddy talk about, like, at the end of the day, this is like, okay, this is a kid with a a single mentally ill mom who grew up, like poor to middle class in like a rural part of America, and his mom was put in a coma by a pharmaceutical company by this fucking horrible ghoul of a woman, absolutely soulless woman, uh, and this corporation, and like that scene where they're talking to him and the mom is floating, like that was probably one of the most impactful
Yeah.
scenes to me of all their just bullshit and their fake sympathy and all this. And just seeing that from their character's perspective, why they would go down some type of a path where they hate these people, they see them as less than human, as not human. Because how could you do that to someone and be a human at the end of the day, Like,
Right.
so it's just such a great, I thought it was such a great depiction of how people go down these rabbit holes. And then the end of the movie, if it was the case that she was an alien, then it really takes away from that because it affirms a lot of those things. And I think that doesn't make sense. So,
Yeah, I think it actually hurts the rest of the movie so much that's why I felt so strongly like I really was on the verge of like 5 stars for the movie towards the end, and even like her, oh my god, her punching the numbers into the calculator and then like trying to run away, like you were saying, like towards the door. I was like, this is insane. Like this is
yeah.
what a cool way to capstone the movie.
Yeah.
And and then the fact it just felt so much like a a total twist around and like a total like jerking of your arm, like, oh,
Mm.
just kidding, all this emotional powerful stuff that we talked about is actually garbage, and she's actually an alien and is about to kill everyone,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, uh okay, that actually invalidates so much of the rest of the movie that I'm like, I can't give it less than 3.5 stars because it's so well put together, anyways. But also, I feel like everything felt so meaningless after. So I'm like, I
Yeah.
like, what do I? It felt so hard to rate
Y-
afterwards.
Yeah, I get that. Um, I do think one of the more interesting parts of the movie too is that like Teddy is basically a completely psychotic serial killer who is like basically abuse basically abusive to his cousin. He's horrible. He's like an awful, awful, awful human. But through the movie, in a way, I think at least I had more empathy for him than I did for the Michelle character.
Yeah,
Because Michelle just being so, yeah, I did have empathy for her, like when she's being electrocuted. And it's like, oh my gosh, like stop torturing this lady. Like, at least in this movie, they don't do like the when they like shave the skin off of in the
oh
Korean
my
one, they like
god,
shave the skin off his like chest or his feet or something. And yeah, that was terrible. So they do a lot less torture in this movie, which is good. But and just the like you have empathy for her of like, oh man, like she is stuck in this lose-lose situation. There's no way she could convince this guy of anything other than because any type of argument she tries, he will just deflect it and say, "Oh, well, of course you want me to think that," you know? And
right, you're fucked no matter what.
that is what it's like talking to someone really, really deep in a conspiracy like rabbit hole. Like they can't be convinced otherwise. There's no, it's completely, pointless basically. And and so there is empathy. But then as soon as she gets out and she says that like I'm a winner and you're a loser, and that's the way the world works, or something like that just shows so much of her character and how despicable that she is, and people like her are these elites, these wealthy people who, you know, control our world. You know, they're in
Right.
they run the corporations, the in the government. Uh, it's just so despicable to the point where I really had no empathy for her. Yeah. So, and then in a way, does she talk Don into killing himself? Is that her fault to some
I don't.
degree? It's also Teddy's fault mostly.
It's so hard to actually like. I feel like that moment was so impactful, and yet it's almost hard to like reimagine what the build up to that was in terms of the actual like talking that went on, because I feel like he was kind of like asking, he was like very much in distress and was like, if you are an alien, would you take me with you? And she was like, Don, I'm not an alien, right? Like, you,
Yeah.
you need to understand. And he was like, but if you were, would you? And she was like, yeah, Don, I would help you, you know,
Yeah.
let's, help me be free or whatever, blah, blah, right? And so like, it almost feels like she was, I don't really think she was trying to get him to kill himself. I think
Yeah. I don't think so either.
it felt like, and even when it happened, she seemed like legitimately pretty fucked up from it.
Yeah. And in a way, like she is more I'm more like her than I am like Teddy in a lot of ways, which is what's so fucked up about it is the people who are, run pharmaceutical companies that kill people. The fucking CEO that Luigi Mangione shot, and everyone was like, well, he was just like basically a normal guy who ran a company, and his company was responsible for denying people health care, for, that whole industry is responsible for like insulin being like
Right.
50 times more expensive than it should be, and that is like a life-saving medicine. Like these people are evil, but in a way they don't think they're evil at all. They just think, well, it's just work, we're just whatever. It's like so banal, and the banality of evil is very, very much depicted there. Like when she's driving and she's like listening to Chapel Roan and she's singing along,
Yeah.
and like the fact that she is such like a normal person is what's so fucked up about it, is that she can just be like, oh yeah, we have these drugs and oh I put someone in a coma, and it's like, well, we'll tell them we're sorry and then we'll just like move on, like, and they don't really care, you know. So yeah, I just thought all that stuff was really interesting, and I'm glad that I found an interpretation to where I could still enjoy the rest of the movie and not feel like the ending ruined it all.
Yeah, and I really like that interpretation a lot, and I think I want to sit on it because I think that would change a lot, and I kind of want to rewatch it and think more about that interpretation because I feel like if that is the case, I would be very surprised if there wasn't little clues to that in those last moments. More clues than what you could imagine on the first one, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, yeah, and I thought of this like
yeah,
like once I was home, so it's not like I was thinking of this during the ending. So all those little details are
right. Like
questionable,
even with
but
the
yeah,
calculator, like did she press enter? Did she not? Right? Blah
right.
blah.
It doesn't matter if she did or did not. I'm not sure. It's just that
Yeah,
in maybe to the human brain, maybe it's just the way we do correlation and causation. It's if it's enter, then he explodes, then it seems like, oh, because the teleporter was activated, that's why it exploded. Where the reality is, it could just be that it just happened to be a coincidence.
yeah,
Uh, but that's how you think of things as cause and effect when especially in a movie.
yeah. But it is interesting too, why in
I I
if
think
it wasn't a a teleporter, why did he do that?
why did he do what?
Why did he blow himself up right when he
I
thought he
think it
was
would
being teleported?
so after the when she's in I think it's when she's in the
Ambulance?
ambulance, one of them explains that sometimes that
Oh yeah,
happens with
like
homemade
human
bombs.
friction or something.
Yes, like the heat from the human body can make them go off unintentionally.
You're right. They did say that.
So I don't know if that is just
Yeah.
what happened.
Which makes sense. I mean, I think he's like, I vividly remember he was like legitimately sweaty. Like
Yeah.
you could see him sweating.
Also, I we haven't talked much about this aspect of the movie. It's actually funny.
Oh
I think
yeah.
Bugonia was really funny. Okay, I wasn't sure because it is like heartbreaking and you feel a lot of empathy for the characters, but also it's very funny. And like when he's walking into the building at the end and he has like this gun and he's like sticking it in his pants and he's like
Yeah.
walking right by the security guard as he does. And like that's funny. And everyone's just staring at her as it's like she's been missing for days and she just shows up and she's like limping through,
Yeah.
and like there is like a lot of dark humor that I just really enjoy in like a lot of Yorgos's movies, like, and yeah, and I will say there's another Yorgos movie that I haven't, I'd say an alternative interpretation of, that I think we'll cover on the podcast at some point. I don't even
Oh,
want to say
cool.
which one. And
Okay.
but I at some point I think I wanted to cover it on the podcast because
Cool.
it's a theory that I don't really see out in the wild.
Cool. Is
But
Yorgos in the cup?
I don't know if he is,
Well, we
but
gotta we gotta update our
if
cup at some point.
we
Double
if
check
he's
things.
not, I feel like he must
It
be in the
must
cup,
be.
but I'm not
Yeah.
sure. If not, I would like to pick it for it could work for some categories maybe.
Cool, cool. Um, I will also say, just in terms of the humor, I think Begonia does a better job. I think because it's just purely dark humor, whereas um in Save the Green Planet, there's some dark humor, but a lot of it's just also just pretty outlandish, which just doesn't really vibe so as well with um the darkness of the movie, right? And then
Yeah.
in Begonia, it's like you never really have moments where you have something really outlandish going on that's supposed to just be funny. Everything's always this dark breed of funny, which I think just works better, right?
Yeah.
It's a more natural feeling for it. Also, Begonia, I'll say, did not. They're almost exactly the same length, and I feel like Begonia does better somehow with that with pacing or something where it just didn't feel as long to me. And part of that might also just be the fact that I kind of knew where it was going in Save the Green Planet, because it is the same story pretty much. So maybe that's just a bias thing that if you're going into it after seeing an adaptation, it might feel longer. I don't know.
No, I felt the same way about it before I had seen Bugonia. I think it's just the I just think it's not as tightly
Yeah,
paced and not as well made, basically. I don't know.
yeah. Not that that being said, I still think it's worth watching. I think it's cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool things about it, and it's pretty unique. And I do think that it's worth watching in terms of like also just seeing where this story came from, right? Because Begonia, in a way, kind of feels like it's like based on a book or something, because it is based on another story, and it's kind of cool to be able to see what that other story is.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. But yeah. All right. Well, is that pretty much all we have to say about Begonia and Save the Green Planet?
I think so. That's
All right.
that kind of wraps it all. We can poke the
Yeah.
atmosphere around the flat Earth now, and
Oh yeah, the flat Earth aspect of it. We didn't talk about the flat Earth. Maybe that. Oh, the flat Earth thing just also contributes to my interpretation, I think. Because the flat Earth thing, obviously, we all know the Earth is not flat, but we see these things throughout the movie where it says, "Oh, 3 days until
yeah,
the eclipse, 2 days until the eclipse," and it's the Earth, the flat Earth, whatever. That's what we're
yeah.
seeing.
And then she
And
pops it. Yeah.
yeah, and so isn't that just proof that this is not real?
Well, but also if aliens were real, who's to say that the Earth's not flat?
Me, the Earth is not flat. You can go around it. You
Yeah,
could
no,
go around. You can take pictures of it. It's a circle.
I can't. I literally cannot be the one here arguing that the Earth is flat or could
Right, that's
ever
what
be
I'm
flat.
saying.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's
That's
a good point.
so I think it's just a fantasy or delusion. It's I don't think it's any of that is meant to be real.
Dang, this is such a good. This is such a good both adaptation, such a good outlook on the end of the movie, both in terms of its actual content, like what it does for the movie, but also just in terms of being very positive. Because I feel like my interpretation leaving the movie was just so much like, all right, I liked that movie a lot, and I wish if I ever watch this again, I'm just pausing it 15 minutes before it ends. Like,
Yeah, because when you first saw the Earth when it said like 3 days until the eclipse, did you know that it was like the flat Earth at first?
yeah, oh yeah, it has the ice wall all around it and
Oh,
everything.
okay. I've the first I saw it, I was like, "Is that Earth? Like, what's going on? Is it just like clouds?" Or I wasn't sure what was going on. It
Yeah,
just looked weird, but I was like, "Ah, whatever. It's Earth." I didn't even put together that it was flat Earth until like basically the end of the movie
you know what I'm
when you
thinking
see
though?
it on the planet on the ship.
I remember the closest one to the end definitely had like the ice wall. It definitely looked like the
Yes.
flat Earth. Not the one on the table in the spaceship, but like when it said like day of lunar eclipse or 0
Yes.
days or something. And I wonder, this is actually interesting going back to rewatch at some point. I wonder if it is a globe or like it looks more normal and then it slowly becomes flat Earth.
Oh, that could be
That
that.
that would be, I think if that's it, I could lock in your theory as being pretty like exactly the intent and at that point the impact too, because I think if you can put together those clues, it works.
Yeah, that would make sense. But yeah, definitely you don't I didn't realize it till the end and you see like underneath and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's interesting. I oh
So
man,
there you go. So I don't think she's an alien.
I like that. I don't know if I need to rewatch it. We'll see.
Yeah. I mean,
But
I would like to rewatch it too. I think it's good that it's rewatchable. And
yeah,
it's got me on a little bit of a Yorgos kick. I rewatched Killing of a Sacred Deer somewhat recently, but it's got me a little itch to rewatch The Lobster maybe. Maybe I'll rewatch it soon.
very nice.
But
I've been on a Giallo kick, watching through some nice Giallo, early
oh,
Giallo
nice.
stuff, and
Nice. All right. So I guess this is the end of the episode. We talked about Begonia and Save the Green Planet. Bugonia, what a fucking movie. I will say, right now it's at the top of my 2025 list. It's number one. It's yeah, that's where I have it. It's right up there. It's a pretty strong top four for me of Bugonia, Friendship, Warfare, and One Battle After Another. I feel like those are my pretty solid top four right now.
nice,
Uh, and yeah, also I will say my Yorgos ranking, I put this number three. I put Begonia number three. I it's the lobster and dogtooth, then Begonia, Killing of a Sacred Deer. Like it goes from there. Whatever. But so that's where I have it. But to me, that's like the upper echelon.
nice. It is cool that both of us in our, I'll just say my top four for the year real quick. I mean, it would be cool maybe at the end of the year, whatever. But
Yeah.
I've got The Life of Chuck as my number one, and then Warfare, and then One Battle After Another, then Sinners. So we both have two movies that we've covered on the podcast of the year to
Yeah.
be our on our top list. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That is cool.
Oh, also, Weapons was really good too.
Weapons is high up there for me. Not
Eh,
quite in the top five. Actually, fun fact, number five on my list right now. I'm tied right now between two very recent movies. One that I've mentioned already, Frankenstein, and another, Die My Love.
oh yeah,
The
yeah, I
new
haven't seen that one yet.
the new Lynn Ramsey movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. Pretty amazing. I mean, that right now is tied with Frankenstein for my number five. I don't really know what to pick, but
Nice. I've
both
not
really
seen
good.
either of those. Yeah, I got Caught Stealing and Companion were also I really like those. So
Yeah,
it's a pretty strong year for movies, I feel like. I feel
it's
like there's
been
been a lot of
awesome.
good stuff. The last couple months, I don't know that like I don't know. There's Marty Supreme is coming out. There's a lot of stuff I'm not so sure about right now, I think. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like Jay Kelly, some stuff like that. I don't know. We'll see how the year shakes out. I think Marty Supreme is gonna be good.
We don't always talk too much about things we just have seen. And I'll probably still mention this in the next one because it's the very end of the episode. Most people are probably off already. But I
Hmm.
did see I know I already mentioned it to you, but I saw Eternity and I actually thought that was really good. I thought that was I saw it early, but it is, I think, coming out the day this episode comes out, probably. And it was pretty good. I think it's worth watching. Kind of fun. So
Nice.
I think we could end up with a few more good things. Predator Badlands is getting a lot of good reviews,
Oh
and we
yeah.
haven't seen that yet.
Yep.
Um, so hopefully there's
Yeah.
a few more good things kicking in at the end of the year for us.
True. Gonna have a solid top 10 by the end of the year for sure.
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
cool. All right, well, that is that for Begonia and Save the Green Planet. Thank you all for watching and listening. Please, if you're on YouTube, leave a like, comment down below. What did you think of Begonia? What do you think about my interpretation of Begonia, I guess? Uh, maybe are you a Yorgos Lanthimos fan? What are some of your favorite movies of the last year? Comment down below. Just we like some interaction. We appreciate it. So yeah, go to YouTube and subscribe. We're on all the podcast apps, not all of them, but a bunch of them. Apple, Amazon, Spotify. And yeah, check out our Letterboxd, Mind Your Movies, all one word. From there, we have links to my account and Ryan's account on in the bio on the Mind Your Movies account. So give us a follow there. You can see what we're watching and you can see what we're doing next. Next week, we have a pretty fun episode of movies with under 1,000 views on Letterboxd. So these are really obscure movies. I picked Fast Break, which is a 70s basketball movie with Bernard King is in it. So that's cool. And Ryan picked Blood on the
Well,
Stars, which is
yeah.
a 60-minute long Welsh horror movie from the 70s. We also both went 70s, just coincidentally. But but yeah, so that's next week. And then the week after we got Nick Cage November coming.
Oh
That's
yeah.
right, it's November. Watch your Nick Cage movies. Get out there, take your face off. And yeah, so that's that. Don't forget to mind your movies.